Welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. She said, I know what you could be doing and should be doing. I said, well, open up your legs and walk me through it. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. I am Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville. Who was that?
That little that gem was from Lil Wayne.
Ah, Little Wayne.
Little Wayne.
Little Wayne.
He's more formally known as Little Wayne.
Yeah.
But to his friends, Lil Wayne.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So this is episode 6 of the podcast.
We made it.
We made it to 6.
It's a full season.
That's true.
It's not. It's not. It's going to keep going indefinitely.
It will never end. This is probably, I felt like it's probably just going to, like, basically chronicle our lives from now on till we die.
Yep.
Or till one of us dies.
From now until we live in a mansion together. He has the east wing. I have the west wing.
Yep.
Right through to the old folks' home.
Yep.
And then beyond.
Right, yeah, hopefully.
You know?
I certainly hope so.
Well, maybe by that stage we could upload our brains to a computer and, just keep on keeping on.
Well, it wouldn't be us, though, would it?
Well, as far as the viewers are concerned, it would be.
It would be, yeah. As far as our computer selves concerned, it would be.
Yeah.
But we ourselves would still be
rotten.
dust. Yeah. So, got a lot of interesting topics today.
Yep.
First one I wanted to touch on was a film called Wormwood, Road of the Dead, or something like that. But basically, it's an Australian zombie film. So I've been watching this film with great interest because it's a similar type of very low budget Australian film. In the same vein of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, which is our film, which we made. And so I've been hearing a few things about this film online. It's been getting pretty good buzz and pretty positive feedback. And it's basically just done a big festival run where it went to, some of the largest festivals. And it has sort of sold its distribution all over the place. And what's happened...
Oh, well, good for them. I'm happy for them. Not
a hint of bitterness. We congratulate those people and wish them well. Not one shred of jealousy from you'll ever hear from us, because we only want to build up other people.
And we're professional.
Basically, so what's happened is now there's kind of this, not a scandal as such, but it illustrates something that has become very prevalent in our society, which is internet piracy. Now, what's happened is Wormwood has come out in the USA, and someone has ripped it, and someone has put it online, and because it had this sort of great buzz around it, and particularly horror films are very popular for pirating, but essentially...
Well, it's not real cinema, so you don't feel bad about it.
So, essentially, it's become one of the most pirated films of 2015, which means...
Which is 2 months old.
Yeah, but I mean, still, going up against studio films and stuff like that, that's still pretty big.
Yeah.
So, like, at this point, it's one of the most downloaded films, at this current time.
Yeah, because what happened is it came out in the States, someone ripped it, but it hasn't come out in Australia yet, which is where it's from.
That's correct. It hasn't come out in a lot of other places. And so they are kind of becoming victim to the old distribution model, which is release it in certain territories. You sell it to one territory, say USA, gets released there. and then you move on to your next territories. But of course, now with the internet age and the piracy age that we live in, that model is quite flawed, because obviously you release it in one place, then everyone downloads it in another place, and you don't make any money from all the other places.
Yeah.
So you only made a little bit of money from the first place, and then people are basically just seeing your film for free, forgetting about it. They're gone. They're out of there. Even if they enjoyed it, they're not waiting around 6 months to pay for the DVD of it or rent it. They've seen it. It's done. It's out of their mind. And essentially, the Wormwood directors put a post on their page, and they're basically like, "Hey guys, like, it's awesome that there's this much interest in our film, but this is a terrible way for you to access it for the people that worked on the film, who all worked for deferred payments. They got paid fuck all, and so essentially you are literally taking food out of their mouths and our mouths, and creating a situation that, like, it doesn't matter to us if the film is the most pirated film. If it doesn't make any money, like, we're still in the same situation." And I think what's really interesting about this is the problem with internet piracy. This is how the film industry is being affected by it, and how, you, the person at home who's pirating shit, is negatively affecting the sort of the future of the industry. And we all do it. We've all done it. So it's not like I'm saying I'm not guilty, but obviously I do try and pay for my films. If I do pirate something, I do pay for it later. Obviously I do that because I'm a filmmaker, so I know kind of the effect that it's having. But there's also this kind of really negative attitude, which is kind of like, "Oh, well, fuck you guys. You should have done it. You should have released it everywhere, you fucking idiots. Now, because you're fucking idiots, we're going to just pirate it. So fuck you fuckers." And it's kind of like, and that is kind of like, you'll see that in comment threads and stuff like that, from these fucking millennials, these cheeky millennials, wanting everything for free, never have to work a day in their life. We're millennials.
Yeah.
Basically, but I think it's, endemic of this attitude of piracy is kind of harmless. It's your own stupid fault we're pirating things, and go fuck yourself.
Yeah, when really, I mean, the fault lies, I think, in the distribution model, the old distribution model. It just doesn't work anymore. It's it hasn't caught up to the modern world. Once it's available in one place in the world, it's available everywhere in the world.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit, because the problem with having it distributed everywhere, it's not only is it sort of like you're asking the film industry to essentially change overnight something that has been established for 100 years, which is not that easy to do, like, just instantly, as quickly as the internet has risen to prominence, right? And piracy has taken over. But also, does the whole entire world get on? Like, no. Do countries get on with each other? Not at all. Do we see eye to eye with Russia? No. Does South Korea get on with North Korea? No, they're like sworn enemies, right? And so why the hell, when it comes to films, where they just go, "Haha, we're mates now, right? So we're just going to distribute this at the same time, are we?"
Well,
sweet, bro.
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
But you can't, like, it's not as simple as just pressing a universal button. All these people have to get on the same page. All these separate countries, separate places, the entire world over, all have to go, "Yeah, okay, let's negotiate together to do this thing." And that's never really, like, I mean, we'll get closer to that, but it's never going to happen in the way that these internet pirates are suggesting it should, and suggesting that they're stupid for not doing.
Yeah.
And I also think that this is how the industry is really being hurt. It's not the big films. The big films that are pirated make a lot of money in the cinema still. But it's these little films that you're seriously affecting the career of these people, because once upon a time, Wormwood would have came out, right? And it's had all this great buzz, all this great hype, and it would have made a lot of money in the US, it would have made a lot of money in the UK, and it would have made a lot of money going everywhere, building off the buzz of all the places it's gone to. And these filmmakers would then go, thank you very much. Now we can make our sequel, or thank you very much. Now we can progress on in our career. Thank you. We've got a little bit of money to write our next thing. We've got a little bit of safety, a bit of a, and we're actually seeing a return on something. We've worked for 4 years and it's cost us, this much. And now we're seeing some of that back. And now because of this situation, because of piracy and the way people's attitude towards it, they may not. And that is the struggle now for filmmakers, such as ourselves, where there's no sort of guarantees that you ever make any money back. And if you don't even make any money back, how are you ever going to live? So think about that next time you want to hit that old download button. Just give it a couple extra thoughts. And, just if you can pay for it, do pay for it.
Well, that's very solid advice, and sure, obviously I agree with that. But I personally am not too worried about piracy with I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and that's because, and I'm not suggesting that our sales agent would do this, but a lot of films from the people we've spoken to, a lot of films, smaller films, they just never turn a profit anyway, and it's because of the creative accounting done by some of the bigger sort of fish in the industry, and what they do is they buy a film and they distribute it, and then they mark up the costs for marketing and so on, and all these things. You want a trailer done? Sure, that's $20,000 taken off the top. Yep. These types of sort of creative marketing where all the money basically goes to someone else before it reaches, the filmmakers. It's like the music industry, same sort of deal there. So I'm kind of resigned to the fact that this film, no matter how successful, will not make any money. And if it's not going to make any money, and I'm not going to see any of this money anyway, then I want it to at least be in front of as many eyeballs as possible. I want everybody to see it, everybody to talk about it. I want hopefully people to cast me in something else as a result of having seen it. I want someone else to maybe invest in your next production because they've seen this one.
Right.
So I sort of feel like I don't want it to be pirated, obviously, but if it is pirated, might as well be pirated big. Because we're not going to make any money anyway, man.
Well, let me just throw a couple things out to you then. What if, say 5 million people pirate it, right? Okay. And none of them pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, say instead 500,000 people pay for it, but 5 million people don't see it. Just 500,000 people pay for it instead of that 5 million. Which would you prefer?
Well, I guess it depends. How much money's going in my pocket?
Well, I mean, I can't say for sure, but I mean, let's just say it's 500,000 people times 10. So what's that? 5 million?
Yeah, I think so.
So there's 5 million of profit.
Yeah, I get 2%. So 2% of 1 million is 20,000.
Yeah.
So it's 100,000.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be all right.
Well, because that's really the difference between these two things.
Yeah, 100,000 before tax. Yeah, but it's just not realistic. For a start, it might make 5 million, but like I say, there's all this creative accounting that's
skullduggery.
Done. That's basically, it's not going to. If we make $5 million, I'm not going to get 20% of that or 2% of that. Sorry.
Right.
Necessarily, once everything's said and done, and then I pay tax on top of it.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
So that's sort of what I'm thinking. We have 500,000 people see it. Yeah. The sales agent or somebody makes $5 million. I don't see any money, and that's it. Or 5 million people can see it, and I still don't make any money.
Yeah. Well, I guess it all depends on that, on how much comes back to you.
Yeah. There's a few ifs and buts in there.
Exactly. So if you want a copy of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust,
yeah, how can they see it? They can't at the moment.
You can't yet, but
you can see it in Vienna though soon.
Well, in theory,
you say Vienna?
Yeah,
Austria.
Pending approval, you can. We've been accepted into a film festival over there. So if you're in Vienna in April,
if you're listening from Vienna,
that's you're sorted. Otherwise, maybe in a couple of months' time, we should have some more news about that one.
Yep.
So next on the agenda, my dad.
Your dad, Charlie P.
He is an avid listener.
And a renowned philosopher. And a very intelligent man. I watched The Theory of Everything last week.
Yep.
All about Stephen Hawking.
all about Richard III.
So it's all about Stephen Hawking. And little known fact, Guy's dad used to see Stephen Hawking around Cambridge when Guy's dad went there, because Guy's dad is a genius on a par with Stephen Hawking.
Well, that's maybe a little bit of an exaggeration.
Hey, they went to school together, man.
They did technically go to school together, not at the same time.
Birds of a feather?
They did. He did pass him in the hallway. Yeah, that definitely happened.
It definitely happened.
So he has shared that rarefied air with old Hawking.
So now this is the type of person that's listening to our podcast.
Yes,
renowned philosophers, associates of Stephen Hawking.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
If you're not.
Yeah.
So anyway, he had a question for us. He wanted to know why, or what we thought of Ender's Game, the film, science fiction film, and why, or whether or not it was as good as the book, which leads us into another topic, which is movies being as good as or not as good as their book counterpart.
Yeah, well, his main sort of question there was why. He obviously had made his mind up already. Yep. Why did he think the book failed to translate into the film? Why did the film fail where the book succeeded?
And for those of you who don't know Ender's Game, whether you've seen the film or read the book, essentially Ender's Game is a very famous science fiction novel. It's sort of considered one of the great science fiction books of all time now. It's sort of, you'd find it in a top 50 list most probably now, and it is an excellent book, and I highly recommend you read it. It's basically about these kids in the sort of near future who are going to battle school to learn. They're kid geniuses, and they're going to battle school to learn how to command armies, because Earth is fighting a war with an alien race called the Arachni, is it?
Couldn't tell you.
And essentially the idea is that when you're a kid, your mind is at its sharpest and most has the best ability to learn and absorb things and to think and move quickly, and so basically, rather than have these old dusty old farts, generals running these armies, you want these hyper intelligent children's minds to be doing it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is kind of valid.
Well, it makes sense. When you see kids playing video games, the amount of time and effort they've got to put into it. And if you think about, I don't know, like skateboarding, for example, the amount of time and effort you put into it when you're younger, you do become legitimately, really, really good at these things.
Yeah.
So it makes sense,
So anyway, they released a film, which I would agree is not as good as the book. But, I think that's getting into the issue of, movies tend not to be as good as books, with the exception of, we mentioned The Shining. Mm-hmm. I think there's another...
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, I was about to say that. 2 Stanley Kubrick films. Obviously, Stanley Kubrick only ever adapted books. So he kind of has a bit of an advantage, because he was always looking for material that would turn into good films, as opposed to like, here's a book, turn it into a film, So he was structuring everything a slightly different way, and so I think that's one reason why he's succeeded. He's also one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. That's probably one of the other reasons. Might have worked out. But yes, I think Ender's Game is not as good as the book, and I think that is, as things go, movies are not as good as books for the most part. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think that in this case, with this particular film, I didn't actually think they did a really horrible job.
I agree.
I was kind of on board for the first sort of half of it.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, it's cool. But I think, without giving anything away, I think that the real issue here is that in the book, the story is essentially about a young guy taken out of his element and sort of the trials and tribulations he faces,
in a brutal environment
to become the best, and it's kind of about that day-to-day life, and it doesn't even have to be a sci-fi. Like, it could be set in any time period, but what made it interesting was his character's path and his development and what was going on with him and his world. And I feel like in the movie they kind of concentrated on the sci-fi stuff, and because they weren't concentrating on the small things, the day-to-day comings and goings of his life, you didn't really see him advance. You didn't really care how he advanced. It just kind of seemed like he went from being this brand new launchy, as they call them, to suddenly he's the admiral, like he's been, he's progressed through the ranks really quickly and really easily. Whereas in the book, you're on board for all those struggles and you feel like he's really earned it.
Yes.
So I feel like that's part of the problem is, you just don't have enough time in a movie to do what you can do in a book. So that's sort of what I thought about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the sort of the richness of the main character Ender was lost in the film, and and that battle and struggle for survival, which was so compelling in the book, is not really present because they're speeding through every part of it. So nothing seems that important. Nothing feels like these he fights in these mock battles in zero gravity, and in the book, it's a series of trials escalating harder and harder, and you feel like it's life or death if he fucks this up, and it's just kind of glossed over in the movie. You don't even really understand how it works. They're just floating about in space shooting each other, and it's all very abstract in a way because it needs more time spent on it, as the whole part of his journey does. So I think that's the issue, and I think that with books you can journey into the mind of these characters and you really get some perspective and see a perspective that you weren't aware of, whereas in a film you just have to show everything visually, and it's like, but we're all witnessing things visually, so that's a less compelling way to come to understand a character or a human being, because we're all just seeing things and attributing our own sort of thoughts to what we're seeing, whereas to actually gain other person's thoughts firsthand is something that only a book sort of in a narrative can provide.
I think it would have worked better perhaps as a sort of a character drama set in space, as opposed to kind of a popcorn sci-fi.
Yes.
I think it might have actually been a lot more compelling if it was really about that day-to-day grind, or maybe a smaller scale kind of thing, and just following what he's up to.
And it's also that classic Hollywood thing, which is the biggest problem of all, perhaps, is that the science fiction book is very brutal. It's very violent, and there's some stuff in there that's quite scary and harrowing, whereas if you're doing essentially a movie with a bunch of kids in it, then it has to be to a degree aimed at some kids. And if it's aimed at some kids, you're going to have to make it PG-13. If you have to make it PG-13, you have to, again, smooth over all those harsh edges that made the book so great and the story so great, and kind of tone down that violence and just kind of remove all that stuff that was so great. And that's that's Hollywood in a nutshell, really. So that's why we're on board with my dad, is what I'm saying.
So next listener question was Sally Ann Moffat, who is a fashionista, who she's known as the stylist from Good Morning for many, many years.
Right.
So we've got celebrity listeners here as well.
Course.
Celebrity listeners, great philosophers.
Yep.
Sally Ann Moffat wanted us to discuss 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, this is good.
That is good, although difficult considering neither of us have seen it.
Or read the book.
Or read the books.
Well, here's the thing about, because she's, I'm assuming, talking mainly about the movie, because the movie was just released on Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. It's a big hit. Made sort of $80 million over the weekend in America. So very, very popular. And, a lot of people went to see it. Now, the feedback has not been great. Terrible reviews. It had a C- average score for people coming out of the theatre, which is bad. Mm-hmm. It means that people who did all show up to see it didn't really like it.
Yeah.
Didn't think it was particularly good. And generally, the book is seen as somewhat of a joke. It started off as Twilight fan fiction.
Is that real or is that a rumor?
No, that's
Is
real.
that official?
That's official.
Yeah, all right.
So it started off as Twilight
Edward.
fan fiction, yep, and then morphed and slowly evolved into this thing.
Yeah.
But this is probably indicates to a degree the caliber of the author.
Yeah.
And, my sister posted a bit of a rant about it, which I jumped on board. But she basically said, look, having seen the trailer and having known everything about the book and having known everything about this essentially terrible story, why was anyone going to see it? Why did he why would...
Well, why do you turn your head when you see a car crash, man? When you drive past a car crash, why do you turn your head and have a look? You're not going to see anything nice, are you?
No, but
you still look.
You're not.
It's the human condition, my friend.
You're not traveling to a theater and paying money to see that car crash. Yeah,
but it's that same morbid allure.
I guess to a degree, but I think a lot of people's excuse was like, hey, it's just dumb fun. I just enjoyed it for what it was. Lighten up, man. But to me, that is why, and I sort of talked a little bit about this on my Facebook rant, is that is the problem now, which we have particularly with Hollywood films, is we say that about every film. So we say... yeah, hey man, it's just dumb fun. Lighten up. We say that about Transformers. We say that about Ninja Turtles. We say that about basically any fucking film that is bad, right?
Yeah.
But we still go see them.
Yeah, they still make a lot of money, so you make another one just like it. Another piece of shit film.
Yes.
And then we all go. Everyone makes $1.
And that's the problem, because it's much harder to make a good film than it is a shitty film. But if we're all going equally to shitty films as much as good films, the only thing that happens is we make less good films.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, okay, well, we don't need to ensure these things, story, character development, plot, good acting, high production values. We don't have to worry about those things, because either way, people are going to go see this if we put the right marketing spin on it. Mm-hmm. And this didn't used to happen. Now, if you go back a couple of decades, the blockbusters were just really good films that happened to appeal to a lot of people. They weren't just kind of Transformers, which were like, you were watching it and you're going, look, this is kind of pretty and there's some cool explosions. And
you're allowed to pirate Transformers, by the way.
Yeah, I like the robots fighting, but like this is really, there's some really dubious stuff in here. And I think that is the problem, where we've had this erosion of quality filmmaking, and also of what, studios think is okay to shove down our throats. And the problem is, 50 Shades of Grey is the problem. We all went to see that. We all fucking ate it up. And we all lapped it up. And you know what they're doing now? They're making a sequel. You know what they're not doing? Thinking of an original film based off an original book, like maybe a good book, maybe, the whole idea that they started with a terrible book and made that into a film is in itself a little bit like, I don't know if this is right. Are we all this dumb?
Well, the answer is yes, mate. The answer is yes. Look at our society. Honestly, 70%, I reckon. 70% are idiots.
Yeah. And unfortunately, but this, I guess making the excuse for 50 Shades is just an enabling. We're enablers. We're enablers of poor content. And in a way where we're in TV, we're kind of rejecting that. It's really weird. Because in television, we're like, no, we want good stuff. We want sophisticated stuff.
Well, sure, after 20 or 30 or 40 years of shit television, it's about time we rebelled.
But we've
demanded something worth watching.
We've pulled a reversal in film. When film used to be that high standard, when film used to have these thought-provoking things, and now it's not. And I think it's a problem. So, vote with your wallets, guys. That's what I'm saying. Vote with your wallets.
Well, I voted with my wallet, and I bought 50 Shades of Grey, the book. I bought it for my girlfriend.
Give us some ideas.
Give us some ideas. I'm just putting those ideas out into the world, just see what comes back, So she's like 3/4 of the way through that at the moment. And I'll probably give it a read. I'll probably read one of the sex scenes.
Right, for a bit of research for this podcast.
No, just to have a wank.
Ah, I see.
So, probably. So unrelated.
I'm completely unrelated.
Completely unrelated.
Okay.
But yeah, I did vote with my wallet. I voted wrong.
You sure did. Yeah. So what's next? What else we got?
Well, I joined Snapchat a while back because someone was like, "Oh, you should join Snapchat," and I wasn't really that keen because I thought it was just for sending pictures of your willy to people. But
I bet some people were upset with you.
Yeah, when I did that,
when you signed up for Snapchat.
But it turns out there's actually heaps of people on my friends list that are already on Snapchat. So I've got all these Snapchat friends, and I tell you what, it's pretty shit. Like, I just keep on getting these picture messages from people. Yeah. Half the time I don't even know them, and they're not sending the pictures to me. They're just sending out group Snapchats to everyone. So it'll be like, oh, here's a picture of my dog, or like here's a picture of my weed. You know, and there's this one particular chap, James Devantier, who's been following us, and supporting us for quite a few years now. Like he's been on our Facebook for at least 4 years. So this one guy, James Devantier, all he does is send me pictures of him taking a shit. That's just what he does. When he's taking a dump, he just takes a selfie of himself on the toilet and says, "Poos," and sends it to me.
That's a little weird.
It's weird, and I know he's sending it just to me because we actually had a conversation. He was like, "Hey man, can I add you on Snapchat?" And I was like, "Well, there's not really any point, man. I don't reply. I don't use it really." He's like, "Nah, come on." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, dude. Like, everyone just keeps on sending me really crap pictures, And he's like, Nah, man. You really want to be on my Snapchat? Come on, dude."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, all right, man, all right." And he just sends me pictures of himself taking a shit.
Ski.
But you know what? I actually think that's pretty funny.
Hey, I feel like if you're going to go with a gimmick, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dump selfies.
I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not on anything.
I think I'm just Harley Neville, if you want to add me.
But if anyone...
I won't reply.
Yeah. Well, this comes...
I went to a beer party the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Inadvertently. Yeah, I went to because a little known fact, Beer Week 2015 is February 8th till 15th. Every year, February 8th till 15th is Beer New Zealand Week. Right? And a beer is, a big hairy man a big hairy gay man is a beer.
Yeah.
And it's one of the subgenres of gay.
And you have a mighty beard going on.
I've got a big beard.
Norse beard.
Yeah, I do. And, obviously got my hairy back and shoulders, which is very popular in that particular circle, which is really funny. It's so funny that as a heterosexual man, I want to be desirable to women.
But you're repulsive.
But I'm repulsive to women.
You disgust
them. They find
them.
me utterly repugnant.
The things that...
The back hair...
The traits that you have been given are the opposite of what they would like.
It's the opposite of what's good. It's like hairy shoulders and back, but not just a little bit. We're not talking like a little bit of fuzz here.
Grotesquely so.
We're talking about when I walk into a room, at least 9 times out of 10, probably more,
well, 10 times
I am the hairiest man in the room.
Yeah.
I am, and not by a little bit, by a long shot, I'd say 99 times out of 100 when I walk into a room, that's probably more like it. 99 times out of 100 when I walk into a room, I just know by default that I am the hairiest man in that room.
Yeah.
That's how hairy we're talking here, people.
Yeah.
And I, as a result of this, women despise me.
Yeah.
They're not fans of it. And yet there is one subgenre in which I am considered very attractive.
Yeah.
And that is the beer lovers.
Yeah. You would be a god among men.
Yeah.
If you had only been gay.
If only I swung that way, I'll be batting away the dick with a big stick.
You would be. Not your own.
Yeah. So I went anyway the other day. Angie and I, Angie's the girlfriend. We went along to the Thirsty Dog on K Road.
which is quite a cool wee spot. I quite like it there.
And did you just stumble into this beer party?
So we went in first. We were just having something to eat and drinking a beer and just enjoying the sun. And then like we noticed like a couple of big bearded men come in, and and Angie made a joke. Haha, that looks like you, know. And I was like, haha, yeah. And then they like went up and greeted their friends. And there's a big burly, masculine looking men, and they went up and greeted their friends and had like pecs on the, like little on the lips.
And you're like, hang on a tick.
And I was like, okay, all right. I think these might be beers, But I was like, all right. But then more came, and then more, and then next thing I know, the whole bar was full of these big, hairy, strapping, bearded men, all giving each other pecs.
And did anyone like give you like the nod?
Well, yeah, because see, what happened was it started getting really busy, and they had like they had a bowl of condoms sitting at the door. Yeah. Now, if that doesn't set the tone for the party, I don't know what will. But they had a bowl of condoms, and so at the end, we'd finished our beers. We'd been there for a little while. It was time to go, and I needed to go to the toilet. So I ventured through the crowd by myself, without Angie, and I did get a few eyes, I got a bit of lingering eye contact, I went to the toilet, and then I was thinking to myself, I was like, I fit in here 100%, except for I'm like 10 or 15 years younger than everybody else, which means that I am a sweet young piece of ass.
You're prime.
And then I was walking back, and I had to sort of go past one of the same guys that had given me the eye a little bit earlier, and he was right in the way of where I had to go, so it looked like I was walking like directly to him kind of thing. And he seemed a little bit excited. Yeah. And then I sort of had to walk past him, and he turned around and he saw Angie. Yeah. And I didn't see him, but Angie was saying that his face dropped. He was very, very upset about that. Yeah, dismay about that. Now, I mean, women go through this every day. This is a normal thing for women
for their faces to drop in dismay
when they see me. No, for women to be, sort of ogled in a bar. This is for them. The girls listen to this are like, so what? I don't care. Yeah. But
there's no girls listening to this.
For me, Sally Ann Moffat might be listening.
That's true.
So for me, as a very hairy man, it was very flattering.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I was gay.
If only. Well, look, I do all right as well.
Yeah.
I'm quite hairy.
Yeah.
I'm disgustingly hairy too. I'm just like
pale in comparison to me.
There's the thing, like the thing that has been my saving grace through life. In terms of my hairiness is that I'm friends with you.
Your association with me?
Yeah, because if it was just me and I'd be so depressed. I'd be like, oh fuck, I'm just so disgustingly hairy. Like, this is so sad and pathetic. Like, I'm hanging out with all my mates. They're all like these guys with like no hair on them, and I've got hairy everything, and I'm just a hairy freak. But I don't ever have to worry because as soon as I stand next to you, all that attention is deflected onto you. Like, it all draws to you. And then even if I do stand next to you with my top off, they're like, shit, I kind of thought Guy was hairy, but I guess he's not really that hairy at all.
He looks like a little boy. Yeah, so you're saying I bring light into your life.
Exactly.
Is what you're saying. Well, good.
So I wanted to talk a little bit. We are filmmakers. We are independent filmmakers. Mm-hmm. We have been making films for 14 years.
Mm-hmm. If we started when we were 17.
I still say 16, but
we were definitely 17. I remember.
100% it was 16,
it was
but
definitely
okay.
17. It's the year 2000.
I know it was 16 in my heart,
year 2000,
and in my mind.
7th form.
But anyway, so sometimes people want to know, how do we do that? What's the tips, and there's always your steady go-tos. But what I was thinking about is, one of the most important things to being a filmmaker in this age, in this era, is having a filmmaking partner. I think filmmaking is, of course, by its nature, very collaborative, and it's very much reliant on other people's hard work, other people's goodwill, other people's commitment to your vision. But it's very difficult. Like, you could be an excellent writer. How are you going to film it? You could be an excellent director, but who's going to help you make your stuff, and even as a sounding board for ideas to bounce things off of, to say, hey man, you think this is a good idea, or you think this is funny, do you think this works, or is this scene too long, or like, look, I'm getting some negative feedback about this. Am I fucking crazy, or are they crazy? What's the deal? And then it goes even further than that to like sort of a financial point of view, is like, I could not afford a fraction of the things that we bought in terms of camera gear and equipment, and even in terms of stuff we've filmed, if it wasn't for you and I going halves and all this stuff. And so that partnership and that team has sort of afforded us, the luxury of being able to make films in a way, because if it was just me, it would be, a million times harder to sort of do anything. I mean, even just for example, recently, we bought a whole bunch of new hard drives on your credit card.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do that. And if I couldn't buy those hard drives, we couldn't make new content. We couldn't back things up, like, this is serious, man. This is like legitimately would abruptly stop me from progressing with things that we're working on. And, I also think about the zombie film. We have both put a fair chunk of money into that.
Mm-hmm. Recently got a $6,000 loan for that one.
Yeah, and not, you were also the lead actor. You also were around for the pickups, and I knew that I could rely on you for the pickups because you were my filmmaking partner. Mm-hmm. So, like, you couldn't really let the team down.
No.
Whereas had it been cast, had it just be some random guy, and I said, you have to have your bald receding hairline, like, you have to grow it out in the most unfashionable, uncoolest way for over a year. And then you have to do that twice.
Yeah.
Okay. How many people would have gone like, look, mate, go fucking fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not looking like a fucking buffoon for a year. Yeah. Right? On account of you filming for a week.
Yeah.
After that year is up.
Yeah.
But you did.
I did. I rocked the very unfashionable baldy receder comb over.
Yeah, the comb over. You were rocking the comb over. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, kind of every person you talk to go, look, my hair's not normally like this.
Normally I shave it, okay?
I normally
looks way cooler.
I don't normally have this receded comb over thing. I don't think this is not a fashion statement of any sort. I'm just doing this for this acting role.
I've got this big role.
Like, did you have to kind of broach that with these girls that you were dating?
Yeah, I probably did. I almost certainly did. Yeah. And what do you tell them though? You don't walk up and explain why you're a balding freak. You don't draw attention to it.
I guess you don't.
Disgusting bald perv. You don't draw attention. You just wear a hat. I just wore a hat. By the time I take the hat off, they're in the bedroom and it's far too late.
It's too late.
It's too late. They've been seduced.
They can't go anywhere.
And the lights are off anyway. And they're more worried about my hairy back than my bald head anyway.
By that time, they're distracted by all the hair on the rest of your body.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And, like, in terms of the zombie film, we together, the two of us, through the pickups and through the money we've spent, have made the film at least 30% better, I would say. 30%.
I'm with you on that.
That's huge, man. Mm-hmm. So imagine if this was just me by myself, the film would be at least 30% worse than it is right now. And that is what filmmaking partnerships do. That is the value in them, strength in numbers. But, it's that team mentality. You need someone to pick you up when you're feeling low, when you're feeling like giving up, which happens all the time when you make films. Mm-hmm. When you're feeling like, why am I doing this? Why should I go on? Why should I keep fighting for quality and what's good, You need someone to go, hey, mate, I've got your fucking back. And also, just like, we're in this industry where it's all about sort of self-doubt and like never really knowing whether you're doing anything good or not, never really knowing if you're progressing or making anything of quality, because it's a very delusional world, the world of independent filmmaking. Mm-hmm. It's full of people that are like, yeah,
shit,
yeah, but it's full of people that think they're amazing but are consistently delivering terrible things. And,
you never know if you're one of them.
And you just have no idea. and so in your times of despair, you sort of like, okay, well, maybe I am as a fucking loser.
I'm not rich and famous yet. I've been making heaps of shit.
Maybe it's because I'm just bad and untalented. And in those times, you need the other person to be like, nah, man, we're on the right course. Stay the path. Hold fast. Hold fast. So hold fast to your filmmaking partner.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and if you don't have one, consider looking.
Yeah.
See if you can collaborate with some people and build those relationships.
Look for collaborators and look for people that are on your same wavelength that you can have those sort of long-term relationships with, because, that is where, that is how we're all going to get ahead.
Yeah, well, I feel very lucky by my association with Guy here, because I definitely would not have achieved anything near what I've achieved if it were not for Guy, going hard on the working all day, every day, never giving up, just keeping at it. So yeah, it's definitely true of me that I need that partnership. I would not have been in, I would not have produced a feature film. I would not have acted in a feature film, I don't think. Well, not as the lead.
But it certainly goes both ways. And, even the fact that you paid for me to fly over to Australia to go to a film festival where we won an award for the film. So you provided me this sort of amazing experience that, had that partnership not existed, those types of things would have never happened.
Yeah, because we went to a Night of Horror International Film Festival, and Guy almost didn't go. It was
and
turned out to be this amazing experience.
I was like, I'm not going to go. I can't go. This is just not going to happen. But it was fantastic, and that's how you can help each other, and also, shit, man, you can't just be this fucking freaky little movie nerd that just sits in your room, thinking up these great ideas and, typing away and going, yeah, I'm a genius, they just haven't discovered me yet. I'm coming up with, I'm the next Peter Jackson, but they just haven't discovered me yet, and that's it. And, but I'll just keep, working away, and one day people will figure it out. Because they won't figure it out.
Also, it's literally just too much work.
That's true.
Our second feature film, Older, basically, Guy, myself, and Kim, the other producer, were working, pretty much full time on this thing. That was 3 people.
Yep.
That's 120 hours a week at least. And one person just couldn't do that. It's just too much work. So, got to have that collaborative sort of partner stuff going on there. But harken back to that, creative people. If you're out there listening and you've got a creative friend, you must, or a creative family member or anything like that, and you don't really like their stuff, you must never ever tell them. You must always focus on the positive. Doesn't mean say yes, everything's awesome,
right?
But you've got to prop them up because you have to understand that they are their own worst critic. Mm-hmm. For every production that we've made, there's been 9 other productions that never made it due to our own or my own self-doubt.
Yep.
So you are your own worst critic, and then to hear something negative from somebody else just reaffirms that. You're sort of like yeah,
it could send you into a spiral.
You're right. I shouldn't be. I need to give up. Maybe I should just go and be a banker or one of these mundane jobs.
Yep.
Sorry to all the bankers.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the bankers, but I don't know how you don't kill yourself. To be honest, I couldn't handle that existence, man.
Yeah.
9 to 5, 40 years or something. God, fuck it.
So you think it's better to continue feed the delusion?
Well, yeah, not feed the delusion necessarily, but encourage them to continue to create.
Right.
So that might mean feeding the delusion, but as long as they continue to create, then it's worth it. Because sure, you might make 10 shit films or do 10 shit paintings or make 10 shit songs, but your 11th one might be slightly better.
Okay.
And then your 12th one might be slightly better than that.
All right. Then what happens if you go, look? They go, look. Read this, I think it's the best work I've ever done. They hand it over to you, you read it, it's the worst work they've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? They've gotten worse. They went backwards with this one.
Yeah, it is tough. This is a tough one because you know there's no point in telling them it's good when it's not, and they're going to waste their time on it. Yeah, I guess you just got to be gentle and sort of give them. It's all about how you phrase it. It's got that constructive criticism as opposed to just criticism. You know, so you can sort of be like, well, you know, I thought this was quite a cool idea. I liked where this was going, but I feel like it didn't work. Maybe it was because of this, but I don't really know because I'm not the writer. But you know, this is what didn't really work for me. Yep. You know, and then they can hopefully take that on board and improve their thing. But constructive criticism is always real tough to give because you know there's such a thin line between constructive criticism that actually helps and something that is going to just hurt their feelings and crush their spirit. You know,
and get them to stop working on it.
Yeah, you know, so it's definitely a thin line.
Well, I think, you know, that is very important though, is like you gotta get thick-skinned to a degree. You know, you gotta harden the fuck up. You've got to start from the point of view that the work you do is not always great, and how you get it great is through people offering up constructive criticism. You know, you have to kind of get that into your head. So whenever someone is like, oh, well, you know, like, I didn't know about this, sometimes your first instinct is to be like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Go
every day.
Fuck yourself and go and die. And you are a fucking idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm sick of dealing with fucking idiots all the time. I just want someone who really understands the whole thing to read my work and see the genius that it is. And that can be where a lot of people, I think, that don't progress in filmmaking or in writing end. They don't move past that point. They don't move past the point where it's like, okay, you hurt my feelings. A little upset, and I'm probably going to go and buy some McDonald's to make myself feel better. But you have a good point, and I have to think about this seriously, and I have to think about what you've said, and I need to improve the film. You know, I can't leave it like that. And, you know, that is a real difficult transition. Because, you know, no one likes being told what they've done is wrong or bad, or just having someone poke holes in something that you've spent, you know, hundreds of hours on, and then someone goes, oh, see that little plot point there?
Doesn't
completely destroys your whole story. You didn't notice
Start
that?
again.
Yeah, you didn't notice that in that 100 hours you're working? That's weird. I noticed it straight away. Took me a minute. And you know, those times can be very trying, but much better for someone to point that out now than when you spend 500 hours on it and it comes out and the first person to give you feedback says that. You know, when you really spend all that time and money actually making the thing. So yeah.
Well, speaking of creative endeavours and not liking criticism, time for a poem.
Time for a poem. I can't
time for one of my poems.
Can't say anything bad about this, so
I need all your feedback to be positive.
All right, lay it on us.
All right, here we go. This one's called Romans 2015. Might be a working title.
Okay.
Do you think the Romans knew their empire was crumbling? Or do you think life went on? As the senators squabbled and the barbarians massed, do you think the citizens went to work, oblivious to the rumbling? As the tide of change washed over their walls and all they had created began to fall, do you think the baker baked bread? What does the apocalypse look like? Is it the flash of missiles in the night sky? Is it a plague of frogs in a blood-red Nile? Or is it an entire species in denial? On Rapa Nui, after the trees were gone, people's diets became unconventional, consisting of rats and basic vegetables. But did they even know what they were missing? How can you miss a delicious fish if you've never been fishing to taste its deliciousness? If you were born after the last coconut has died, then your rat tastes fine. So when we cross the line, will we know it's too late? Or will we blunder on blindly, oblivious to our fate?
Oh, shit. This is a bit of little truth bomb dropped on everyone just there.
Yeah.
A little bit of fucking knowledge just fucking exploded in your ears.
So, yeah, basically stop killing all the animals and using all the plastic and burning all the fossil fuels.
Yeah. Just ruminate on that for a little bit.
Ruminate on that one.
Well, I mean, the sad part is we're gonna do the Romans. I mean, history repeats itself. This is the fall of the empire. We keep doing this to ourselves. Every civilization gets to a sophisticated point and then it falls in on itself.
Yeah.
And we've sort of reached that falling in on itself point, but this time there may not be a civilization to follow us up.
Yeah. Well, it's because we've got such an interconnected global society now, like a big collapse, a big worldwide collapse. You know, like when the Roman Empire fell, there was still other massive empires still sort of carrying on civilization. You know, like the weight of knowledge, you know, was on their shoulders now, and they continued it forward, and we all advanced as a species, despite the fact that the Romans fell. You know, although there was, I'm sure, some setbacks. But with our big sort of global interconnected civilization, if some big thing happens and the worldwide economy crashes and you know there's all these wars and natural disasters and you know nuclear bombs perhaps, you know, like there might not be any empires still standing at the end of it. There might just be sort of scattered remnants of, you know, the former glory. And it sounds pretty like alarmist. Sure. And yet it's well within the realms of sort of feasibility.
We're close, man. We're close. And I think, I mean, I sincerely think that's why post-apocalyptic films are so in vogue. It's because
it's on our fucking minds.
It's in the back of our minds.
Well, speaking of post-apocalyptic films and speaking of alarmists, I'd actually like to chuck in a little quote from Dr. Peters.
Who's he?
Now, Dr. Peters is the doctor in 12 Monkeys who releases the virus.
Right.
And wipes out 90% of humanity.
Excellent film.
Yes, excellent film. He says, we're speaking about alarmists here, he says, "I think, Dr. Riley, you have given your alarmists a bad name. Surely there is very real and very convincing data that the planet cannot survive the excesses of the human race. Proliferation of atomic devices, uncontrolled breeding habits, the rape of the environment, the pollution of land, sea and air. In this context, isn't it obvious that Chicken Little represents the sane vision and that Homo sapiens' motto, 'Let's go shopping,' is the cry of the true lunatic?" Just felt like that fit quite well.
Sure does.
Here we are, just all going shopping and shit.
Well,
the world's ending, and we're worried about the sale.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always worry about the no power thing, because I really like the internet. I like my phone. I like writing on my laptop and obviously editing, but you know, no one's going to be going to the cinema anymore either.
No.
So there goes our skills right out the fucking window.
Yep.
But also, you know, that, you know, just like literally everything I use for fun has power, pretty much.
What, are you going to go for a fucking walk?
What are you going to
kick a ball or something?
What are you going to like do some physical exercise? What the fuck? Sounds fucking crazy, man, if you ask me. So yeah, that's my concern.
Well, if the power's gone, man, you won't be concerned about not being able to do any writing, man. You'll be concerned about eating and not getting raped.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's true as well. But I guess I imagine like this kind of world where, you know, I'm hidden in some underground bunker playing cards with myself.
You know what I'll miss? Hot showers.
True.
I often think of that. You know, I think, imagine living in a world without hot showers. You know, that would be my own personal hell.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Well, what about in the poem, you're like, look, the rat tastes just fine if you're not used to the coconut, right?
Yeah.
And that's the idea is like, remember how Nintendo games were awesome?
Yep, I recall.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you play them now, they're not awesome.
No.
But they seemed awesome at the time.
Yep.
It's just because we didn't know.
Yeah.
And
didn't know any better.
And these people in the future, they might not know all this luxury that we experience today.
Yeah.
You know, forget your fucking 3D Assassin's Creeds.
Yeah, they'll be long gone. You'll be playing ball on a stick. So, yeah.
Well,
that's my poem for the week.
I enjoyed that one.
Good.
I thought that was good. I'm going to go kill myself in advance of not winding up in that future.
Yeah. Speaking of poetry, I am going to branch out into a new area and do a poem live at the Thirsty Dog on this Tuesday. So that's going to be kind of exciting. What's that? Tuesday the 25th or something like that? Somewhere around there.
It will be Tuesday the 25th, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. I'll be there on Tuesday the 24th. There it is.
There you go.
Tuesday the 24th, I'll be at the Thirsty Dog and I'm going to do some poetry for the first time ever. Live.
Yeah, because obviously you've done it many times on this fucking podcast.
On the podcast, yeah. Yeah, you can't escape it. But if you wanted some real life pain and misery in your ears, come along to the Thirsty Dog on Tuesday.
Quick minute for the Twitter.
All right.
Ready? I'm going to play the theme.
Okay.
Tweet it.
That's definitely scaring away all of the viewers every time we play that intro.
I've actually
very
heard
obnoxious
people,
in their ears.
I've heard people really enjoy it. I've heard people have got back to me on
I'm pretty sure that people rip the earphones out when they're at the gym and throw them on the floor because it hurts so much.
These fatties aren't at the gym.
Well, that's true. Liam Hegarty is not at the gym. We know you're listening, Liam.
So only one tweet this week. You know why? Because it's so perfect.
Okay.
This is from Guy Pigden.
Who?
As we all know, an actor prepares Subway sandwiches for a living while waiting for occasional auditions.
There you go. Nice. It's true. It's funny because it's true. Observational humour.
That old classic.
Old Guy Seinfeld over here.
Guyfeld. But bing, tweet it. That's the Seinfeld edition of the Twitter outro.
Special record. All right, well, I think that brings us to a close for another week of the Guy and Harley podcast.
It does.
It has been a pleasure as always. So find us on Facebook, Pigville Productions, and send us through any ideas you have for next week's show. Anything you want us to discuss, we will turn it into content. So just get at us.
And also, don't be afraid to share this with your friends.
5-star review on iTunes, please.
Yeah, that would be nice. We're still waiting for that. But
we haven't even received one yet.
We're waiting for that 5-star, right? We're waiting patiently, and it's looking like we're going to have to write it ourselves.
Which I will do very soon. DJ Fades, if you're listening, I gave your album a 5-star review, so
you think about that, buddy. A 5-star for a 5-star.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, and good night.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.